imagine if we look at every single person we meet in terms of their potential in life, and not in terms of the means of their parents to give them great education or raise them in first world or whatever life circumstances that can help someone acquire a better career. I've done over 18,000 assessments so far in my career, and I haven't seen one person that does not have some great potential or talent in them. But not every one of them actually gets a fair chance in life to be treated equally.
Welcome to the Reb Chat, where we share conversations with creative entrepreneurs. I'm Cathy, your host. We bring you inspiring stories from founders and innovators in both profit and not-for-profit sectors. Our guests share their journeys and creative processes from the world of art and theatre to groundbreaking business ideas. And today I'm really delighted to be joined by Dr. Antoine Eid, a visionary at the intersection of genetics, neuroscience, and behavioural psychology. Dr. Eid created Meet Yourself, a groundbreaking personality assessment tool that integrates DNA testing with precise personality insights. He's the founder of Meet Yourself, as I said, and a senior associate at the University of Cambridge. He's also shaped Brain-Based Leadership Program, which bridges science with workplace dynamics for enhanced performance and inclusivity. His mission is simply to empower individuals to lead happier, more fulfilled lives and to champion diversity and equality throughout potential-driven opportunities. So, Antoine, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me with you on this podcast.
I've been excited by this discussion and also what you're creating. And happy birthday for yesterday.
Oh, thank you very much.
So I know that you've been on a journey, and if you could take us back to the beginning of this mission that you are now bringing live into the world, which is your program. So where did it all begin?
It began when I started feeling that I have a developed sense when it comes to other people's feelings and emotions. And for a long period of my life, I tried my best to push that aside, thinking that it might be a weakness in my personality that I need to work on. And I did. I tried developing other skills, analytical skills that allow me to feel less and think more. But it wasn't giving me that joy that I used to feel when I touch someone's soul or feel them. But it stayed with me for a long time, and then eventually, when I started working in consulting, I realized that metrics are great in organizations. Understanding performance from a dollar sign point of view is great for organizations, but there's the human aspect that sometimes is neglected. And I started getting more and more interested in understanding how the brain functions. I ended up studying this and eventually got into this as a passion, which turned into my career. I've been doing this for over 15 years, and slowly came together to become Meet Yourself, the brand that I eventually created.
What I'm hearing is there's many different strands, but your experience of it sounds like leaving part of yourself out of your natural disposition. You realize that it had some consequences. And I imagine that most of us would experience that. When you understood how you could develop, do you think it took you in a different direction to what you might have taken as a career when you discovered this earlier on? Do you think that not recognize that might have taken you in a different direction?
That's a good question. It would have definitely had some influence. But we all have our different journey in life, and our life experiences and life incidents create learning. So to be sure that this would have taken me in a different direction, I'm not sure. Because there's also and always the effect of nature always coming back, especially after strong life experiences, to remind us of who we are. So, in a way, our experiences sometimes steer us away from what we are born with, our natural talents, our predispositions, all the things that make us happy and have that sense of purpose and fulfillment. We all go to university, we're raised in families, we get in relationships, we get jobs, and all of these important experiences teach us things in life. We learn every day. And a lot of that can be totally outside that nature of ours. So if we're lucky in life, certain incidents can happen and they can remind us of the last time we were happy and what we were doing. And only the lucky ones get to actually go through these experiences, get the right learning, and eventually reconnect with that purpose, which is always part of us.
That's really interesting. And talking about the purpose, the thing that you've discovered, is that the central thing about the tool that you've developed? It's to help people be on purpose. Would you say, I guess it's difficult to boil it down to one thing, but if there was a thing in particular, would it be that?
It would definitely be that. I started this and I had four main objectives in mind. That's one of them, is helping people get some scientific data about themselves, things that are hidden in us, they're part of us, they actually, in many cases, constitute the greatest motivators behind what we do, but we don't know that they're there. And understanding these can actually help us better understand our purpose. That was my objective number one. Objective two is helping each one of us better understand others and the people we interact with. Because what we do in life and the amount of energy we put into trying to bring everyone else around us into understanding how we think and what is acceptable behavior for us is disappointing to see how much, to understand how much energy we put into this. What we fail to do sometimes is to really understand that whatever behavior we are seeing in others, there are motivators and a different thinking behind it in most cases. But we just naturally react to that behavior. We react to people's body language, to what they say, to what they do, not understanding sometimes that what they say is what they might actually think in the moment that this is the best behavior. But their thinking might be different. Their motivators might be different. And helping people understand the motivators hidden behind the behaviors can bridge that gap that can create conflict. They say conflict equals intention minus impact. It's the difference between what we intend to do and how people perceive it. And if we bridge that gap through proper understanding of motivators, conflict opportunities reduce drastically. Objective 3 is to support diversity, inclusion. Imagine if we look at every single person we meet in terms of their potential in life and not in terms of the means of their parents to give them great education or raise them in first world or whatever life circumstances that can help someone acquire a better career. I've done over 18,000 assessments so far in my career, and I haven't seen one person that does not have some great potential or talent in them. But not every one of them actually gets a fair chance in life to be treated equally.
It's been very helpful just outlining those objectives. And I would like to discuss the tool itself now, because I know there's different components for the listeners who've never heard of this. So could you explain what it is, how it works, and how you combine the DNA testing with personality assessments?
So basically, these sciences have been there for a long time. There's hundreds of thousands of research papers in measuring the relationship between our genetics or the genetic influence and different behaviors. We know that our DNA influences anywhere between 30 and 70% of our behavior. We know that our thinking, our brain or our thinking is influenced by our genes, the brain structure, brain cognitive ability. They're influenced genetically. And these ultimately will affect the way we behave and the things we learn. However, throughout history, we have been, until today, selecting people, engaging with people, communicating with people based on their behavior and skills only. And I had the chance to work with hundreds of organizations in over 30 countries. And what I've seen, and a lot of them are big global brands. The common thing I've seen between all of them is that we focus a lot on competencies, on qualifications, on education and experience. And all of these are great. No one can do a job if they actually don't have the technical ability. But what we fail to consider in this equation is whether this person is going to be motivated at this job. And that motivation comes from one of two things. It comes from our genetic makeup, and it comes from our thinking preferences or thinking motivators. But we do not address these. Biggest companies in the world, they still do IQ testing before recruiting. They do almost exclusively behavioral assessments. They ask a person, how good are you at something? And people answer. Take any random job description. Most of it is about the qualifications required for a job. Take any random CV. It talks about the qualifications and the experience and the education. We don't address personality at the workplace. And then we come and hire consultants like me or you and say, I don't know what happened. This employee was great. They had great potential. Why did they leave? Why did I fail to motivate? And the reason is because we did not look at their motivators before hiring them. We only looked at their skills. So this is why the tool itself addresses both motivators and competencies at the same time. So through three different assessments. The DNA test, which reveals 54 different personality predispositions. The thinking motivators assessment, we call it the brain print. It reveals the thinking motivators. And a behavioral assessment, which reveals acquired skills and behaviors. And we map them together. And that led to an algorithm that has over 62 million entries, thousands of different combinations of personalities, and each one of them tells a nice story, a beautiful story about what this person was born with, how they were influenced through their upbringing and their early life education to think in a certain way, and then how did life push them to develop certain skills. And that analysis is very powerful. I have people almost crying every time I debrief them on the results.
On a maybe more local level, in some of those assessments that you do, have you encountered anyone who is almost just really puzzled by the feedback, what they're doing in life? They go, I was born with this. you say crying, is that joy or grief? I'm just wondering the impact of thinking, these are my genes. This is what I could have done, but this is what I have been doing. And oh my goodness, there's the wasted potential. Has that happened in any of your assessments? That grief that comes out for what could have been?
It could happen, yes. It happened a few times, but the conversation itself and the report itself focus a lot on let us understand what makes you unique and different. What is the beauty in your personality, and how can we can maximize and nurture that? Because we have had enough in our lives dealing with our weaknesses, or what we call our weaknesses. We've been criticized, we've been told to grow and develop, we've been put on performance appraisals, we've been compared to our friends at school through a grading system, and we'll continue living a life of trying to be good enough. Because we were only told to look at what is missing and what is weak and fix that. We were not pushed to look into the beautiful parts of us, the talents that exist in each one of us, and nurture those. So I always take the conversation in that direction. The report itself, the analysis, also pushes reflection around those strengths. And I want people to leave feeling proud of who they are, not changing their life and their career as a result, but making those little changes that can help them reconnect with those parts they might have left.
I really like you said the way you say reconnect rather than, I said, really grieving for the life that could have been. But this reconnection, and I know that you've got developmental tools within the package as well. So what are some of the tools you use to help people reconnect with maybe the unknown or forgotten parts of the self that is there dormant in their psyches?
A lot of tools. I have the chance of coming to this industry and building, this technology a bit later. There are existing tools in the market, over 75,000 to be precise, psychometric tools and behavioral assessments. And as most people in our field, I got to understand what is missing in them and fix that. So I made sure that people start their journey from the moment they receive the results and not the other way around. Because with most other tools, the journey ends when you receive your results. People are happy, they are 4 letters or 2 colors or whatever the test says. And then you ask them a month later and they can barely remember what the results were. And these development tools are quite good, but people go back to the way they do things and their daily routine and they forget about this. So what I built is a fully individualized development journey that starts once the results are out. Different reports coming at in a structured timeline, each addressing a part of personality, such as your personality as a leader, your communication, your personality as an entrepreneur, your personality as a human being. And I'm soon, if everything goes well, by next week, I'm saying this publicly for the first time, I'm adding your personality as a parent as well, and how that is working with the personality of your child. So I'm adding these different tools, activities, games, and an AI avatar that's been very nicely built to talk and answer questions related to personality. I've been training, her name is Nia. She's an AI engine, but she's been trained with over 370,000 words so far to answer questions related to personality. So I want this to be a, a genuine and effective learning journey for anyone who takes the assessment.
And one of the applications I know you're interested in is the social impact and also the leadership impact. So if we turn towards leadership with this package and also your experience with brain-based leadership, big question, but the impact, I mean, thinking about the genes, the report for the suitability maybe of leadership in the motivators, could you see your tool really affecting not just the selection maybe of leaderships, but also how they are developed using this tool and what impact that might have, well, throughout the whole of society, not just in companies, but in all realms of human life?
That's a great question, Catherine. Absolutely. If everything goes according to plan, this should be put in the hands of every leader, every educator, every parent, and every person seeking self-development, because this can play a big role into identifying those strengths, those potentials before development even starts. And I was just having this conversation with a coach, with a business coach this morning, and I'm saying any development is good development. There's nothing wrong with learning and growing. That growth mindset is very important. We're blessed to not be a lion or a giraffe, waking up every morning and going to do the exact same thing we've been doing for years. We're humans. This is what makes us different. It's our ability to learn and develop. But what if all these efforts, I'm saying let's do the efforts. What if this effort is put in the right place? And this is where the game is changing. I'll give you an example. Parents do this all the time. They only find the talent in their children by pure trial and error. They put them in random activities until one of them clicks. And the child starts practicing more, then they develop passion, and one day they will be looking with pride saying, oh, my child is talented. But this could have easily not happened if they put this child in a different activity. We're already trying. Leaders in organizations are trying. They're developing people. They're sending them for MBA programs. They're hiring trainers and coaches and leadership experts like us to help and develop. But in most cases, we're missing that first important step. What if we do this after we understand whether these people have that genetic predisposition to not only excel from a technical point of view, but also enjoy it? It's going to make all the difference when somebody is doing something, not only because they've been taught to do it, but because they enjoy it. It will change the level of performance.
There's two things that really struck me was what this really drilling down to the sense of purpose. And something that we've chatted about before is this playing to your strengths, to your natural strengths. There are many schools of thought within self-development. Is like, recognize your shadow and your weaknesses and double down on them. But your message is absolutely play to your strengths. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Absolutely. I'm going to give you an example. If someone is 7 feet tall, are they automatically admitted to the NBA?
I'm not sure.
They're not, because they're still missing something. And that's learning basketball, learning the skills and the technique of basketball. However, they do possess that genetic trait that can help them excel in that game, which is height. And that's not something you can really practice to become or think a lot and be determined and have the mental power or manifest becoming taller. It just is just in your genetics. So Just imagine that each one of us is actually putting that discipline, putting that hard work, putting that intelligence to learn in something that they are talented at. Not only the world will be a better place because people's performance are going to be higher, people's happiness are going to be higher as well, because people are they're waking up, they're going to do this thing that they enjoy doing every day. And that's the difference when we're working within our strength or outside our comfort areas. It makes a difference. Those most people around us in organizations are coming to make ends meet, put food on the table. They know how to do it. They do it very well. But a lot of them come back home thinking, oh my God, now I have to sleep, wake up the next morning and go do that thing again. Whereas someone who is passionate about what they do, they don't think like that.
Because they're nurtured by what they're doing, because they're playing for their strengths.
Absolutely.
So that's very clear. I wanted to ask, I was just thinking about it before we spoke today, of the accuracy of the DNA test. I don't know how new the technology is that you use, but in terms of the reliability and the validity of the DNA testing, has that been something that you've also been working on? So when you look at the test results, that you can say there's a degree of reliability about what's coming through?
There's three aspects to that question.
Mm-hmm.
One is I have not invented that science. Behavioral genetics has been there for many years. Now we do next generation sequencing, which reveals even more correlation between our genes and our behaviors. There's only behind what I do, there's over 24,000 research papers. That's in behavioral genetics. So what we need to question is the validity and reliability of psychometric assessments, out of which two I use in my assessment. Because there's the psychological bias of the respondent that plays a role in the validity and the reliability of an assessment. But when it comes to DNA testing, it is 100% accurate. You can do that test as many times as you want, and you score the exact same thing.
Really, really interesting. We mentioned leadership, and I'd like to look at the social impacts. I know this is very close to your heart, to make the world simply a fairer place, more inclusive and equal, and promote the things that you really believed in. So this tool, what's your vision for also enabling that, to go some way to enabling a more just and fairer place in the world?
I do believe that this is the biggest challenge in our life. It's managing our relationships. And when we talk leadership, it's not a job anymore. It's not a position. I've never seen a business card that said leader. It's more about how you lead and inspire other people. And in order for that to happen, and what makes great leaders from less great leaders is their ability to understand how to motivate people. So what I'm doing is I'm actually providing real-time data that can help leaders get to that understanding faster and in real time. This tool is slowly becoming the go-to tool for leaders, HR managers, talent managers that I work with. Some tell me I'm becoming addicted to it, because now I have to go on the chat and ask so that the chatbot actually understands the personalities of the people in the organization, in the team, and can think with the leader on specific cases, specific situations. And that is not replacing the leader. It's just providing data and avoiding speculations. And this is what I'm trying to provide leaders, is a more informed and scientific perspective on the people in their teams.
And so for that social piece, and I guess it interlopes with also the leadership piece, would there be instances, I mean, this is speculative, where someone has done the test and you can see that maybe the leadership isn't right for this person, they might have the competencies and the skills, but is that a possibility with this testing, that people won't get promoted, or because of what's in there, what comes through some of the results?
Well, just like any other assessment tool, it could be used for good or bad. I was asked many times to test people. I was asked to ask a minister test a minister once in one country, because this was going to be an excuse to fire them. So it can happen. It happened with me so many times, and I did my best to try to avoid this from happening through the different tools and reports. That's by not mentioning the word weakness even once in all of the report. You're talking hundreds of pages. You're talking a full AI engine that is thinking about this. It doesn't. I do not believe that people are weak. This is the blunt answer. I think people put themselves in the wrong environment, but they're not necessarily weak.
I understand that. I understand that, Antoine, but I'm saying where you can see quite clearly that the position of the person is aspiring to or has the position, and you're looking at all the indicators, say this is the leadership qualities that you would see are not in this profile. So it doesn't mean the person's weak. It's the unsuitability for the position. I mean, has that happened?
Many times.
Yeah. Okay. And you mentioned the person who were looking to fire someone, but I think it's the interpretation of the data, I guess, more than the data itself.
Absolutely. This has been used to hire one CEO for one of the leading automotive companies in the world. So they were hesitating between two very good candidates, both equally qualified in terms of competencies, and we had to look into their motivators before we were making a choice on the selection. So in this case, it's definitely a very powerful tool.
For sure. So I'd like to know your thoughts on the future, because I know that is very dear to your heart. The vision of, I mean, you're in very exciting times. You're doing training and practitioner training with the tool, and thousands of people have already used it. But if we take ourselves a little bit out in the future, what's your vision for Meet Yourself?
It's funny because someone was asking me that same question this morning, and because I created this and there's a lot of passion behind it and years of hard work, I would like to give this for free to anyone if I get the chance. Somehow, and I did not know what I was signing up for in the beginning, this turned into a business with investors and you know the whole package. And I would like to at some point make sure that this remains a business. Otherwise, if I'm involved, it's going to be trying to put this in the hands of anyone I meet every single day and not making money out of it. So getting myself out of the management of this would be something in the pipeline. But for the tool itself, I have a lot of great plans for it. I'm developing something for educators, so parents and teachers, to understand the genetic predispositions for children starting the age of 7 and start guiding them into a more purposeful life. Developing more tools for organizations. I'm working right now on a tool called the predictive behavior. And once the team has done the participants in a team have done their assessments, the algorithm will be able to predict probabilities of behaviors for a future scenario, for a scenario that might happen in the future, such as the CEO getting replaced, for example. How would the team behave in case that scenario happens? So the algorithm will provide some probable behaviors given the data of the team, and will recommend skills to be developed today in order to prepare that team for that future scenario. So I'm trying to use that data to create different tools that could be used by organizations to get things right. And that's my plan. I'd love to be sitting somewhere in nature and just keep developing new things to help even more and more people.
Well, I think right at the center of this is we share this, is the passion for self-development and understanding and awareness, and how we interact with one another based on what we know. And so I can see that there's been enormous amount of love and energy and time and community that you've put into this tool. So thank you very much for the conversation today. Really enjoyed it. Before we depart, could you just share, anybody listening wanting to know more, where they can find you?
Of course, I'm most active on LinkedIn is Dr. Dr. Antoine Eid, or Meet Yourself on LinkedIn. We just launched our e-commerce website, meetyourself.me, a few days ago, and we already are receiving orders. It feels really good, nice that people from different parts of the world are ordering their assessment kits. I will soon be launching a bundle for every assessment that a professional buys. If they happen to have children, I'm going to add an assessment for their children, complimentary of Meet Yourself. So that's going to be launched next week. And yeah, it's meetyourself.me. Otherwise, I'm very active on LinkedIn. So anyone who reaches me on LinkedIn, I answer within a couple of hours usually.
Antoine, thank you very much for being my guest today. A fascinating discussion. I'm sure we could have gone on a lot longer, as we do tend to have lengthy chats, but thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. You're doing an amazing thing here. I had the pleasure to meet you a few months ago, and I'm very happy that you're part of the Meet Yourself community.
Thank you very much, Antoine. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Rep Chat. We really hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for joining us. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share the episode with your friends. Until then, and until the next episode, keep well and goodbye for now.